You're live. Welcome to the first edition. And I don't even have the words up there. We'll get that up there next time. To the Stand Out and Be Seen show.
Woohoo! This is so much fun to be live. We've been talking about this all summer.
Yeah. And it always seems like tech wants to give us another obstacle, which it did today. We're actually, a couple minutes behind what we were trying to start at, but
That's
you
okay. We're here.
just keep going. Imperfect action.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited that we have put together this incredible opportunity for entrepreneurs to tune in and learn how they can stand out and be seen in a really busy marketplace.
Right. In an AI soup.
That's a nice way to put it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of so. To start that out, let me just introduce myself. I'm Monte Armstrong, and I am a genie expert in the world of copy and content AI, using a specific AI tool to generate copy and content. And I've joined up with Anza, and we've developed a program which we'll talk about here in a bit. But my mission here and across the platforms that I am working with is to counteract AI soup. I want to help people get their angle on stuff out there so that AI can gather it all in and it'll season the soup rather than it just being the same stuff the AI is churning out and AI.
Ay.
So it's my mission to help people who are not getting the word out there to get their word out there, and for people who are trying to get their word out there but feel like they're in this soup and they can't stand out, to help them pinpoint their messaging so that they can season the soup. And I also like the other terminology is cast your vote. You can't change AI. So all you can do is cast your vote. Put your stuff out there. Because your angle is unique and different than everybody else's on the same exact mundane topic.
That just hits the nail on the head, because you and I do very similar work, but we approach it from two totally different vantage points. And I love having conversations with you, about AI tools that we both use in order to create amazing content, marketing and sales content. But I love the way that we both use the tools very differently to come up with very similar results for our clients. And let me just take a minute to introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Anza. I'm based in Denver, Colorado, and I work with mostly women-led businesses to help them with their branding and marketing messaging so they can be seen as a thought leader or expert in their field. And part of the way that I do that is by create consistent branded messaging to get their message out so they can make the impact that they want to make through their products and services. But at the end of the day, Monty and I both help people get in front of better qualified leads by using the systems and the tools that we use to create really great content.
Yeah, that double angle. And that's plays right off of that. I want to help people get their angle out there, because the more human angles that we have, the more data that we get to utilize, that's resources.
Right. Because like you said, it is a very busy marketplace, and there are a lot of people who have the same title about what they do. Maybe it's a business coach or an executive coach or a career coach, but what makes what you do different is your story and your specific life and business experience. And that's what you want to be able to highlight in the context of the marketing messaging and branding messaging that you put out there, because that your stories, your specific experience is what is going to allow people to connect with you. And I think that's part of what's missing out there in today's marketplace. There's a lot of sterile messaging that it's great information, but it doesn't build connection. And that's really what we want to help people do. In and that's the story behind Stand Out, Be Seen. We want you not just to build a community of people, we want you to build relationships within the community that you're building. And that's a game changer in business.
Yep, that human connection.
Mm-hmm.
We're hearing about it,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's just a matter of how do you implement it, and then again, different angles. So that
Different
was
angles.
the beauty. That's why. So let's continue with that story of, well, how did we meet? We met in the group of the AI tool that we're using, and
Mm-hmm.
because of the collaborativeness of that group, we ended up talking and chatting and interacting and engaging with each other. And then I had gotten to the point where I was like ready to write my next book, and it was interesting. It was about the same time that I discovered that Anza does the same type of thing that I do. And so I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to have someone else have their perspective and co-author a book together on something? And that's as far as that thought went. And so I invited her and she said yes, and we wrote this book. This
What
book.
book did we write? Oh my gosh. So fun to see
Yeah.
that fruition. It was there on your t-shirt. I love it. I love it.
So it's a step one of our journey. We met and we got to know each other, and then we started our first venture and wrote the book. And interestingly enough, the book blossomed, and we end up having people ask questions and inspired us to do some more stuff. And instead of just taking that and moving onwards, we continued
We
and
did.
created a program from that, to help people get results in those specific areas. So I'll pause
Exactly.
now and I'll let you elaborate on your angle from that whole journey.
Well, I have a confession. You probably don't even know this, but I like Facebook stalked you for a while. I know. I can't believe I'm confessing this, but the things that you were doing inside of the group that we're a part of were absolutely fascinating to me because your mind works very differently than mine does when it comes to marketing and creating messaging. And I kept seeing you come up with these amazing results. And I was like, I need to get to know him better. And so when you came to me and said, hey, let's do this webinar together, are you open to it? I was like, oh, this would be so much fun to collaborate, because collaboration is one of my company's core values, right? Collaborate, innovate, and I never remember all three of them when I say them to somebody else. Empower.
There you
But
are.
I know. It's like I always go blank on one of the three when I say them out loud. But it was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's show people how you can get rid of competition and create opportunities through collaboration. And, we had so much fun on the webinar that we did. And we realized that we had this really great synergy working together. And it's like, why not create some things together? So then when the book came out of it, I was really excited because one of the things that I do in my business is help authors be able to monetize their book and to be able to come up with ways to do that. And so, we're doing what I've been teaching in my business for many years. And we've taken that a step further with not just turning our book into a group coaching program, now into a podcast, but now we're teaching and showing people how that book that maybe they've been thinking about writing can really open up some doors for them to do some things with some other people that maybe they've been admiring from afar and saying, man, if I partnered up with somebody, we could do some really great things together. And like you said, this book project has just blossomed, and things that we hadn't even thought about doing together other people in our circle have said, "Hey, are you going to do this? Are you going to offer this? Hey, I really need this." And so it's opened up opportunities that maybe if we had just done a solo book, maybe those opportunities wouldn't have come to fruition. Because I think there's a real magic in the collaboration that we have, in the different viewpoints that we have on things that have people really intrigued. And they're starting to ask, how can I do what they do in my business? And that's what we want to do, right? We want to open up those conversations and make it easy, right? Hit that easy button for people so they have to go through all the pain that we went through in growing our business, and we can help them, reach success a little bit faster.
Absolutely. I really like what you said there too. I was so excited, I went right on past it. Before I describe that though, I do want to say, hi, Vicky. Thanks
Hey,
for tuning in and showing up. We appreciate that. But it's true. The first point, I jumped right past it. I was just on my, hey, I'm developing this map, and
mhm,
it's a mind map, and it's this visual tool, and it's helping some people, and I want to elaborate on it. I want to show some more people. So I actually
mhm,
showed you first, and you were really impressed with it. And since you were so impressed with it and you used it, and then you came back and you said you had results from it, I was like, oh
mhm.
man, you might be the right person for me to do this web. I need to do a webinar. I need someone to help me to be that co-host person. And at first,
Right.
I'll admit to you, I was looking for someone that was just going to be on the sidelines, that was going to monitor the
Mm,
chat, answer some questions. But
mhm.
then, we just chatted some more, and it was just like, wow, we're doing so much of the same thing in
Right.
different ways that mesh
Mhm.
together. So then it
Right.
was like, hey, why don't we just kind of co-host this thing? And
Mhm.
then that inspired, because and I already knew I was going to write my book, and because of the
Mhm.
webinar, that was what made me go, hey, let's do
Mm.
the book like we did the webinar, and that would
Right.
be really cool. So that was
Mhm.
great that you brought that up, and I just totally
Mhm.
shot right past that segment of the journey.
Right. Well, it's funny that you say that because I forgot about that conversation that we had way back when you introduced the map. And, one of the things that I really thought about, and I think that we do so well together, is connecting the dots for people. I think that a lot of people out there who are solopreneurs or small business owners, they don't have a clue about what to do with marketing themselves and or their business. And it's like, I think I should do this or this or this, but I don't understand how it all works together. And, I think when I'm creating my avatar, that I need to take this trait and this trait and this trait from all these different people and create this one super avatar, and then I've got it nailed. And your map really helps break down that myth about trying to be all things to all people, and that it helps connect the dots on why we say what we say and how we say it when we're putting together our marketing plans and creating our content. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing, because again, you and I think differently. And while I was getting good results, once I started using your map and thinking about it in different ways, there were some dots that connected for me, even after 15 years of being in business, that I hadn't thought about it that way before. And all of a sudden it made sense because I had this great visual to go to. And so I was so thrilled to be able to go back to you and say, man, Monty, I can put this to use right away. It wasn't something I needed this big long training period, or that there was this big long learning curve to be able to get results and use what you had created. You really took something that in the minds of so many small business owners is confusing and complex, and you simplified it and you made it available, to everybody, whether you're a beginning marketer or you're an intermediate or expert marketer. This can really help save time and save a lot of thought power going into things, because your process just keeps everything on track, which makes it so fun to use. It makes you dig deeper because I mean, you and I worked on an avatar together um, for our book, and I had put together some thoughts based on the avatar I was using, and I thought, oh Monte and I are going to spend, 20 minutes together working on this and finessing things. I think we spent 6.5 hours across several different meetings before we really had things refined, because it made us really think hard about who did we want to reach together, because we did have similarities in our target audiences, but there were some really unique things that we wanted to pull out specifically for the book and then for creating this podcast. And so it's powerful on so many different levels.
And that just inspired me more to add to it and build it out and make it even better. Because I look
Right.
at it, it's a map, and here we are on this marketing journey, and it's a
Mhm.
jungle. The marketing journey is in a jungle, and you
It
can't see
is.
very far. There's so much stuff going on. There's so many animals, so many different things. You got
Mhm.
AI and posts and tactics and videos and blogs and all these different things. And the map is a way to say, hey, there are lots of journeys through this jungle. So
Mhm.
if we can pick out the ones that connect together, that make
Mhm.
the next logical step just logical,
Obvious. Yep.
intuitive, obvious,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then when we get further down the trail, we're able to look back and say, oh yeah, that's
Mhm.
what we're doing, and now we can stay on track.
Mhm.
And that's
And
where I had real quick, I when I first started the map with our friend Steven, thank you, Steven, that was the point, was that when you start describing your ideal client and the journey they're going through, you
right.
forget to keep it on the same thought track, and it's easy to
Right.
jump track and start talking about a similar topic.
Right. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make when we are creating an avatar, is it is so easy to lose your focus and take that bunny trail. But, I think the point that really stood out to me that I would like to underscore is that there are a lot of different paths through the jungle. And this isn't a cookie cutter approach to say this is the way and you need to go this way through the jungle. No, it's about customizing the path through the jungle through your specific lens for the people that you are trying to attach to and serve, and through weaving your story through that with your unique experience set, then I think that you create your own path through the jungle that people can then follow you. Um, I don't know about you, Monty, but I have bought so many different systems in the course of my business, and they were all cookie cutter. It was like, do A, B, C, D, and you will get these results. And I'm a rule follower. If someone gives me a set of instructions, I'm going to do them explicitly the way they laid it out for me. And I can tell you, I would get zero results. And I would think, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? I crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, and, crickets, nothing's happening. And since I have started using your system to really dial in deeper, my engagement has gone up, my conversions have gone up. It has been absolutely astounding. And again, it was something that I could see results in very quickly. I didn't have to wait for 90 days or 6 months or a year. It was within the first couple of weeks that, wow, engagement shot up 1,200%. And I could see that from stats right away. And it was exciting to say, okay, now that I'm clear on this person that I'm talking to, that I'm really clear on the problem that I'm solving for them, all of a sudden what I had to say came so easy. Because so many people that I work with are like, I stare at a blank screen. I have absolutely nothing to say that's any different than what anybody else is saying out there. And I think there's nothing more troubling than to sit down and have your mind go blank. It's like, I got nothing. I got nothing. This really helped you say, oh, I could talk about it from this angle. Oh, I have this story that maybe in the moment you didn't think was any big deal, but it was like, That's a great illustration for sharing this point with something that I see somebody struggling with. And I think that your tool just brings all of those things to light.
Yeah, it's again back to the map. It's like when you're
Mhm.
on a road trip, even when you're
Mhm.
familiar. It's like, hey,
Right.
let's say we're going to drive down the. We got to make a left. What road was that we need to make a left on again? Oh, I don't
Mhm.
know. Oh,
Mhm.
let's look. Is it that one? Is it that one? No. Oh, open up the map. Boom.
Open up
Oh
the
yeah,
map.
it's right there.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's the whole concept is this, let's save some brain
Mhm.
power. It's being
Right.
sucked out of us by technology. Let's save
Mhm.
some of that by
Mhm.
having a map readily available to keep us on track and that we can get
Right.
back and forth. And then, like you said, what's great is we're identifying these journeys. And so now you've identified this one, and then you could identify another one, but you've identified this one. So now you can look back and say, hey, is there anyone else on this journey? Because I got the map.
Mhm. Well, and I think that that is another point that, people who come to me have a really hard time creating a funnel because they don't know what journey they're taking their potential clients on. And the map also really helps make that clear. This is where they are, this is where they want to go, and I am providing the path to get them there. And because they don't have to be going down the highway wondering, is this the exit I get off? Is this the left turn I'm supposed to make? It all becomes very clear. And I think that is so beautiful. Um, you know that I love Jim Edwards and I love his book, Copywriting Secrets. And I always said, if I had run into Jim back in 2009 or 10, my business would be so far ahead of where I am right now. And I feel that same way with the map because if I had understood more deeply the whole process of taking somebody through the funnel and being really clear on where they are and where I'm taking them. Because I always thought, oh, I have all these possibilities. I can take them here or here or here or here. And, once they show up, I'll figure that out. No, you need to figure that out on the front end. You need to figure that on the front end. But in 2009, 2010, that was where I was at in my business. And had I had that clarity, my business would be in a different place today. And so I just love that knowing what I didn't know then and what I know now can really help shortcut the process for people who are trying to figure it all out. And they won't have to go through 10 years of trial and error or figure it out or cookie cutter systems. We can customize the system for them right away using a framework that delivers results. And I think that's what I'm so excited about this partnership that you and I have together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too. We're discussing the map, which turned out to be one segment of the journey.
Right.
And it ties it all together.
It
Once
does.
again, going back to that, oh, now with the map, I get to see, I can go, oh, there's a landmark. Oh, there's where I wanted to
Right.
be. There's where I went. All these different aspects of it
Mm-hmm.
versus a traditional mind map of an ideal client
Right.
that is just boxes of data.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that's step one. I need to collect the data and I need to put it into a specific spot. But
Right.
then you still have to do stuff with it. You still have to know which data to put together and which is pertinent.
Right.
And with marketing, that isn't the
Mm-hmm.
same. It's not here's the statistics I need from my ideal client. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
you need the whole thing. So that way you know about this aspect and this aspect when you're writing about this thing, because
Right.
it's all about emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And there's where my biggest leap in this journey was when I realized, oh, I'm a computer guy and listing out all the features and even the benefits is
Mm-hmm.
not far enough. That was what
Right.
held me back before and all of the stuff that I did. Lucked out in the field I was in and the area I lived in that was sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at a comment and my train of thought went off. So I'm just gonna put it on up there. Say, hi, Anna Banks. Thanks for joining in. The map, the ideal client map. It started out as a simple mind map, and it evolved. There's even a book now all about it.
A book, go
A
figure.
book. And so it's a mind map that, in fact, since Anna is already in the copy and content world, so she is privy to the genies and the avatar. So the map was based on the avatar. I was trying to help Stephen get the concept across of writing content that was congruent. And he wasn't understanding in the avatar form the 3 boxes and 3 boxes and 3 boxes and 3 boxes of the different datas, and to take the first one of each set, and that is your thought track. And so I tried to explain it to him in all these different ways, and finally I thought I need to show him. And so I used, thank you, Carl, for showing me mind maps. And then Stephen said, oh, I see what you're trying to explain. And I thought, oh, and I see more. And I started connecting, and I filled in the entire avatar. Every box that you fill in the avatar in copy and content AI is one of the boxes on the ideal client mind map. They totally coincide.
Totally.
But then with Anza, I discovered, oh, wait, the avatar isn't exclusive to Jim's world. Jim just took an idea of marketing and said, hey, let me refine this so it's easier for people to understand. And he did a great job at it. All I've done is amplified it with a visual tool to help people save some brain power so that they can visualize. And a lot of people are visual learners. And for those people, the map has been very, very helpful.
It really is. And it, like we said earlier, it really helps people connect the dots, because the way that it's set up, it forces you to stay in one line of logic and not to take those bunny trails. And, I'm thinking about our conversation with a client yesterday, and we were working on starting to fill out the map with them. And we got to this point in the map where he realized, I need to go do a little bit of more research. I don't have the answer to the question in order to move forward. And so we had to pause the project, which is great. But I think one of the big things that came out of the conversation as we were creating his avatar was that he works with more women than men. And he had not made that realization prior to going into the map. And then he was like, yeah, I need to be talking to women instead of men. And that brought up a whole nother group of questions for us to talk about and ask about who this person is that he really wants to attract in his business. And I think, again, so many times, and I think he would have done this too, people try and take these attributes from multiple people to create their ideal avatar. And this really breaks that habit. And I think that's so important and so powerful when it comes to creating great copy that's going to connect and engage and convert. Because if you combine all of those traits from multiple people, you've created an avatar of a person that really does exist. Nobody has all of the traits when you start combining people like that. And then your messaging is very muddied and nobody hears it. Nobody engages it. It causes confusion. And they say a confused mind never buys. And I think I'm going to take that a step further and say a confused mind never writes. If you don't know who you're writing to, it's really hard to write. It's really hard.
Take that step back further. A confused mind takes no action.
Right? That's true.
So
That
building a funnel,
true.
making an email sequence,
Right.
yeah, any of those steps in marketing can have that effect. And I like, so we've said it several times about staying on track. It helps you, forces you into this congruent line of thought, but it also gives you the visual place to put the extraneous thoughts or to shift them around. Sometimes you have all the right data in the avatar. They're just not in the right spots.
Right. And I have found that to be true in my experience. I have created a lot of different avatars for my clients and for myself over the past several years since this tool has been available. And I always have to go through and juggle some things around because the information isn't in that right track. And so then when I start looking at how am I solving that problem, it doesn't like totally makes sense. And so you're able to see very visually the way that line of logic is going, and you can make those course corrections. And I think, too, you and I talk about this probably every day, that just because you've built out your avatar doesn't mean that it's a one and done kind of proposition, that you're always going in and refining that avatar as that avatar changes and grows and evolves, just as like you're growing and changing and evolving in your business. As your avatar travels with you, they're going to need to be updated as well. And so it makes it really easy to go in and make those updates when you see them on those three tracks.
Yep, that is what I've experienced with multiple people, just
Mm-hmm.
walking or traveling down the tracks of thought, and then discovering as you're traveling, oh, there was a bump. Wait a second, that's an indicator. That might not be the right
Mm-hmm.
piece of information there. And
Right.
what I like about the mind map is that now we have this tool where
Mm-hmm.
we can shift the information out of the box, but not away. So that way we can
Right.
compare it and say, this is what we had in there. Well, let's try this. Or
Mm-hmm.
I have this thought, but it doesn't seem to fit anywhere. Let me just plop it onto the mind map so I have it. I'm not going to lose it. I can visually reference it, and then I can shift it into place if I think it replaces something else better. Which
Mm-hmm.
then brings us on to it's not one and done either with an avatar, because even if you define someone who is afraid of water and afraid of spiders, the
I
way
don't
you
know what that
speak to
is.
this person
Right.
could be different to another
Mm-hmm.
person who is afraid of water and spiders, because they're actually afraid of spiders and water. This person's afraid of water and spiders. So since this person would jump in the water to get away from the spider, and this person would squish a spider to not jump in the river, the way
Right.
you would approach them and talk to them and
Mm-hmm.
get them to take action regarding a spider or a water is going to be much
Right.
different.
Much different. Much different.
And
Mm-hmm.
here Anna says that she hasn't been very successful in understanding and using mind maps yet. And I think I can understand that completely, because a lot of
Right.
the templates and stuff that people use mind map for are just
Mhm,
glorified spreadsheets.
mhm,
And I look at them as this is my thoughts. It's all jumbled. Yeah, my thoughts are jumbled. But what's great
right,
is I can grab stuff and start organizing them visually on the screen in front of me. And I feel
right,
so powerful. I'm organizing my brain.
mhm,
But
right.
that's something I'm
Well,
going to be elaborating more on,
yeah,
and showing specifically in the map,
right,
techniques and things that I use. So definitely, Anna, stay tuned
mm.
for future episodes, and I'll show you some more stuffs.
Yeah, I think that that's, one of the things that we're gonna have a lot of fun with over the next several weeks and months is being able to show people tools that we use and how we use them. Like Anna, I am not a huge map user, and it wasn't until, you and Carl introduced Mindomo to me that it was even a tool that was easy for me to use. I have tried several different mind maps, and none of them were easy. They were very complicated. And I would just get so frustrated. I would go back to my Trello board because that's the tool that I'd used up to that point. Or just drawing things out on a notebook and making my own mind map in a manual way. And so I think Mindomo really simplifies that process for people who are wanting to learn how to use mind maps for different aspects. But I think the thing that I love about it that you mentioned is it's a great place to brainstorm and keep all of your thoughts together as you're building out that avatar. And like you said, you can capture all those thoughts and then go back and say, oh, this one goes here, this one goes here, this makes more sense here. Even though You have all of that data and information. It's just helping you sort it and categorize it and organize it in a more efficient manner so you get better results.
Yep. And I'm suggesting with the map, if people aren't familiar with mind maps, that they just use this tool. They're not using a mind mapping tool. They're just
Right.
using this one portion of this mind mapping tool.
Mm-hmm.
And as they work with it, they may discover, hey, I like how this works. I think I could use it for this other thing. And then you might
Right.
expand and explore with it. Or potentially you just use it for that one tool. Or you might discover that you prefer a different mind map and you will just import it into your mind mapping tool, or maybe you'll just have to recreate it in your platform.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, it's not use this Mindomo mind mapping tool. It's, hey,
Right.
use this framework. In fact,
It
we
is.
have one
Right.
person, hi Vicky, that prints it out and hands writes on it, which is the
Mm-hmm.
first form that it came in, because that was the idea. It was just, let's just fill this thing out.
Right. Well, I think the key to success in any of the things that we're going to be talking about in future weeks is looking at what's your work style. How do you like to work? How do you process? And adapting some of the tools and ideas and frameworks that we're going to be presenting into a manner that works for you. Because a tool is only a good tool if it's a tool you're going to use. A framework is only a good framework if it's a framework that's going to work for you. And I've always been all about customizing a solution for somebody. It's like, this is how I do it. This is how it works for me. This is why it works for me. Maybe it will work for you too. And if you like the concept of that and say, I've tried it, but gosh, it just isn't giving me the same result. Let's talk about it. Bring those problems to us and we'll help you brainstorm some solutions, because maybe something just needs to be tweaked in the way that you're presenting it. It could be the way you're looking at it, the way you're trying to use it. And, we can get you going and moving in a direction that's going to get you results faster, because there's no right way. There's no one way. It's what's the best way for you to get the result that you're looking for. And being able to customize that solution for you will make all the difference as you move forward.
Yay.
Oh, love you, Vicky. So,
And Anna says she's going to stay tuned. It sounds interesting. It is. It is very interesting. We have so much fun talking about it.
do. So, in the comments, drop some questions that you have, drop some problems that you're having a hard time finding a solution for, because we want to be able to present content to you that's going to be meaningful and help move you forward in your business. Because, marketing is just one big experiment. And what works for Monte may or may not work for me. What works for me may or may not work for you. It's all about tweaking and experimenting and figuring out what's working, and utilizing a lot of the different tools out there that can help you make database decisions. Pardon me. So, well,
So
Monte,
here's an interesting thought. Anna says, I don't like a lot of customization. It's often too costly in time and money. And that is very true. When you customize things too far, then it requires custom maintenance to maintain them, or just the time investment to get it to that point. But then there's a cost to return on investment factor to analyze over time in that situation. But yeah, I definitely have had many customization situations that were costly in time and money. But then again, sometimes it's knowing, looking at the map, knowing where you're at, where you want to be, what obstacles are on your way, and other ways to potentially get around them. So maybe you customize your path for this one circumstance and not the whole thing, just the one. Great. Well, if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and put comments in the or questions in the comments, and we'll get notified and we'll look at them, and we would love to answer questions in following shows. That would be exciting and fun.
Yes, exciting and fun. And for those of you who are just joining us, we'll be live on Wednesdays at 12:30 Eastern, and you can catch the replay wherever you catch your podcasts.
Yep, the replays will get put up on Podbean and Apple and all those wonderful podcasting places, Spotify. Well, super. We could talk about all kinds of other stuff, but we'll save that for future shows. And for now, let's just call it a wonderful Wednesday.
Wonderful Wednesday. I love it.
Have a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll catch you next week.
See you next week.
See ya.